Tiger Rock Martial Arts of Brandon's first ever podcast. Today, me and Mr. Dear are going to be talking about the most recent national tournament in Huntsville. We'll also be talking about Eli Desper winning the Monroe finale. Really excited for him. Very special moment for him. And we'll also be answering some fan questions and also do a blind ranking. Shout out all the people in Tiger Rock that make that event run smoothly. I know that we don't have anything to do with the logistics of how the tournament is ran, but it ran very smoothly. A lot of the tournaments were ran on time, and they fit it all into the 3 days, which is pretty impressive as well. What was the most memorable thing for you at this tournament?
Well, it's definitely got to be our student, Eli Desper, winning Monroe. So he's 17 now. This is his third year to compete in Monroe. He's advanced a little bit each time. Last year, he didn't go as far as he would have wanted to. Doubled down, put in extra work, wanted to do better this year, made it all the way to the final and won it. He became the lowest ranked guy to win it, and he also became the youngest guy to win it, which is pretty impressive all around. I know as an instructor, that's pretty cool to see as well. I get as much excitement out of you guys, our students winning things like that, than it does for me winning a medal. So that was pretty awesome to see. I know that's probably the hardest competition we have in Tiger Rock.
No doubt there's 40 plus people competing, doing the same form. But, a big part of it is the fact that all of them care so much about form, and seeing that Eli came out on top after how much effort I've seen him, witnessed him put in, I was happy for him that it paid off. When you're watching form competition as a judge, what are some things that stand out to you?
All right, so obviously it's going to get progressively more and more difficult to find differences between the forms based on, junior green belts all the way up to judging the 6 degrees in the Monroe competition. Biggest thing in the beginning, lower levels, I would say, are power, stances, hand position. So those are one of the easiest things to differentiate between people at the beginning, like backhand position on your ribs instead of below your belt or way up super high. Your punch is actually going to the same spot. Especially that white and yellow belt section, instead of going 1, 2, they both actually hit the same exact spot. That's going to look like you understand what the punches are doing. You have good control, your hand and foot timing. So now as you get higher up in the ranks, it's going to be who made the fewest super small mistakes, or not even mistakes, almost just it went in the Monroe. It's you're grading those guys on a scale of 100, it's a 97 versus a 96. And you have to find something to pick the 97 over the 96, which is really hard to do. So a lot of respect to any of those guys that are judging Monroe. That is definitely a hard assignment. It's really cool to get selected to be one of the Monroe judges, but it is really difficult. Those forms are pretty amazing. Pretty much everybody in that has a ridiculously good form.
No doubt. I know as a judge, for me, watching throughout the day, you watch a brown belt ring and then you watch a black belt junior ring, and there's such a big difference in those, 1 year amount of training. And then you see a junior black belt and a youth black belt, and it's such a big difference in the way that they're able to use their body and understanding what we're telling them. Have the Monroe with the even higher ranks and even more mature in their journey. Who were some judges that stood out for you at this tournament?
So I had a judging assignment for almost every competition. I was out during one competition, so I went over to watch a few of our guys, and we had Barrett, Riley, Austin, and Reagan all competing in one little area. And I got to see this judge that was running one of Barrett's rings. I think the A ring. The guy's name is Caleb Graham. He's from Texas, from Tiger Rock and Bridge City. I have no idea where Bridge City is.
Shout out.
Pretty sure it's in Texas, but shout out to Caleb Graham. Awesome judge, and it was one of the most exciting ones I've seen. To be honest with you, I even reached out on Facebook to figure out who he was. I saw his name on his belt, so I reached out trying to find out what school he was from. Reached out to his instructor and got in touch with him on the phone. It was interesting. The first question I asked him on the phone was, "Does he have any theater training?" I have zero theater training. I assumed he may have, just based on watching him, and he said yes, he definitely has a theater background. So if you have that, man, it would definitely. It can definitely benefit you for being an instructor or a center judge. Man, it was awesome. Very charismatic, very exciting. Had the parents into it. There was another guy that was in our pod. He was a 4th degree. I don't know his name. I think it was the first time I met him. He ran a player 2 ring and had the parents going wild. It was fantastic. I've never seen a player 2 ring do that, and it was it sounded just like. It sounded like an XP ring over there. It was crazy. So shout out to him. He was in our pod under Chris McGee, but I can't think of his name. I know he's a younger guy, 4th degree. He was on top of it all day, and he killed it on the player 2 sparring, which was impressive. I feel bad for not knowing his name, though. So message me if you see this.
Player 2 sparring and board breaking, it's not one of the easier things to hype up. And I didn't get a chance to see that. Yeah. But that would have been cool. You said you got to be a Monroe judge this time. I haven't been able to be a Monroe judge yet. I got to get my rank up a little bit higher. But I did get to judge the Tiger Cubs this time. I never judged the Tiger Cubs at a national tournament, so I definitely enjoyed that. They don't just pick anybody to do the Tiger Cubs, so I'm glad I got chosen to be one of those people.
We got a quick shout out for one of our kids, also Gertie McCarthy. She's 17, blackjack and certified instructor. She also ran one of the Tiger Cub rings this time. She was not one of the few that was selected. I'm not sure what happened in her ring, but they didn't have somebody that she volunteered and stepped up. She's never taught a Cubs class in her life. She's assisted with a lot of them, but never taught one. And she ran a full Tiger Cubs ring at Nationals at 17. And I can tell you, I can't imagine running a Tiger Cub ring at Nationals at 17. That's pretty cool, though. A lot of parents said she did really well. I didn't get a chance to see it, but I heard she did really well.
There would have been some pressure there, not wanting to mess anything up for those kids. But I've heard that it's not pressure, it's opportunity. So she found that opportunity, and we're proud of her for taking it.
What has been your most memorable competition?
Memorable. I will never forget my first tournament ever. 2010 national tournament, came to Jackson one time. It's crazy. I got beat by a girl, so I'll just never forget that moment. In sparring, she took me down. She was taller than me, though. I'm way taller now, but she was taller than me at the time. But the fact that you asked memorable, that I'll never forget that. It really didn't hit my ego at the time. Thinking back, you would think that it would have hit my ego as a boy, but really just a losing thing. It was just like I didn't reach my goal, and ever since then, it's like, okay, we've always had somewhere to go up from there. Martial arts.
What's been your best tournament?
Best tournament was probably another one in Huntsville 2 years ago. I made the finale for the first time, and I'd never been on the stage before. I'd never been in the finale. I saw you compete at that level. I'd seen Mr. Desper as well as Mr. Frazier competing at that level. I hadn't got to that opportunity yet. Started taking my training a little bit more seriously, and doing that propelled me to get onto the stage. Didn't win that year, but you don't necessarily have to win for it to be your favorite tournament or your best tournament. I won a lot, and I saw hard work that I put in pay off, and it's definitely my favorite tournament, my best tournament.
Yeah.
What's your most memorable tournament?
Memorable would probably be the midnight tournament. I have no idea what year it was. I have no idea what city it is. So some of these guys remember every year, city, and tournament. Cody Bushrow, yeah, he can tell me he can tell me what ring he ran at every tournament. It's crazy. All the tournaments run together for me. I don't know. I just know it was the year we did form, sparring, board breaking, free design form, one steps, and I believe ECAS, all in the same ring. We started competition. We were supposed to start around 7, started a little late, started around 9, I believe, and finish up a little after midnight. It was a pretty fun ring. I remember Travis Hatchett was in there, Sammy Gorino. He was in there as well. I remember sidekicking him there, and he even told me good sidekick and gave me a fist bump, and the judges gave him the point for it. That was pretty memorable. We just kind of laughed it off because, like, he didn't even throw a move. I sidekicked him, and he got the point. I think everybody was just tired. It was late.
I'd be tired at midnight too. Shout out again to all the people in Tiger Rock that make that event once over. Covered your most memorable tournament. What's your best tournament?
Ooh, best would be my last one that I competed in. So it was either 2018 or 19. Honestly, couldn't remember what year these run together. I know I sparred Colby Donnell in the final, in the finale. So whatever year that was, he probably remembers. Anyway, but that year I won 5th degree men. I won our ring in form. I won our ring in sparring. I won board breaking. And then I won against all the winners in the sparring competition to make it to the finale. And then I won the finale in sparring. So went out on top, or to me, that was the top. Because to me, I'm a sparring guy. Form is cool. I definitely prefer sparring over form. So that was my goal, was to win sparring. So I won sparring. And then at that point, 6 degrees couldn't compete anymore. So my plan was to retire at that point. I think I was 38 years old. So retired from competition as planned. And then I think the next year or 2 years later, they changed the rules and now 6 degrees can compete. But the ages are a little lower now so some of the 6 degrees aren't quite as old as I was. I was generally the oldest one always in the ring when I was competing though, with the 4th degrees and 5th degrees. So generally they were all younger. They were the best.
I was at that tournament.
Was that Orlando?
I think it may have been Orlando. That was the first time I ever saw Colby Donnell. And then I remember him mentioning that you sparred his dad.
He was dressed up as, I felt like Captain America at that tournament, right? Wasn't that the same one?
I think that is right, yeah.
He was not dressed up during the finale. So he was pumping up kids all day as Captain America. That would have been cool if he came out as Captain America, though. But I don't know.
Would you have been intimidating?
No. That'd been pretty cool to beat him as Captain America. But I don't think they were going to allow that.
No.
It's definitely not in the uniform. guidelines. Who are some Tiger Rock athletes that have inspired you along your journey or competition journey and competition career?
Well, first of all, it looks silly if I didn't say the person sitting at the table, Mr. Dear, no doubt. But if we're talking about people that are not just like right here around me, Mr. Griffin's right down the road. But as far as outside of Mississippi, I watched Cody Boucher's form from whenever he won the Monroe. I watched it multiple times leading up to the tournament. It inspired me to, really just be intentional with all of my moves. As far as outside of competition goes, Kevin Crutchfield. He always makes sure that we have a good experience whenever I see him at the tournaments. It's never a negative moment between me and him. I know one tournament I talked to him about his journey and how he started at a young age and how he became a manager of an academy and he became an owner of an academy and now he's married with kids, and I can just see myself on the same journey in life, and I notice him from afar and I'd like to be on a similar path.
A few fan questions. So we asked this in our group, Facebook group for our students, and we had a couple questions. So I'll read out the question. You can answer it first, and I'll give you my answer for it as well. So first one was, how many medals do you have?
Medals. Okay, I've been to lots of tournaments. 15 years of training and going to tournaments. I went to a lot of them when I was growing up. I'd say I have anywhere in between 30, 40, 50 medals.
So for this one, for me, I have no idea. I know I competed for probably about 15 years, all in the adult division, retired when I got 6th degree at 38. So from 20 to 38, so about 17, 18 years of competition. Started competing at Greenbelt. There's 3 tournaments a year. Only missed one because me and my friend Ray went to Atlanta, Georgia for a largest car show in the world instead. So it was either Pensacola tournament or Nopi Nationals in Atlanta. So that's the only one I ever missed. I'm sure I've had a couple that I maybe didn't compete at but judged. So probably back then there was only 2 competitions really. You had form and sparring. So pretty much always placed or medaled in sparring. Didn't place a lot in forms at all until I got black belt. Black belt, I started working at a school, so I started taking my forms a lot more seriously. Prior to that, I learned it just good enough to get my next belt, and that was pretty much the extent of my form training. But once I started working at a school, took it a lot more seriously, started winning some medals there. Never been a top forms guy though. I would guess, because as we got higher up, there was more competitions. I know the most medals I ever got at one tournament, I think was like 6. And then that was 5 golds and a silver. That's the most I've got at one tournament. But that was back before we had the player 2 sparring stuff. That was the one tournament we had sword sparring though. Zach Wise beat me. That was my silver. I beat him in everything else. So I beat him in form. I beat him in sparring. I beat him in the board breaking last man standing competition, and then freestyle form. I feel like we did one more thing, and then he beat me sword sparring by 1 point. So shout out Zach Wise. But now medals that I have now, I bet I probably have 4, probably 1, 60 to 80. I don't know. I've given away a lot of them in classes as an older adult teaching a lot. I've given away in classes for prizes. I kept all my medals from my last tournament though. That's the last one I competed in. I have all 4 of those gold medals, but I don't think I have many of the other ones. I think I've given them most of them away. I wish I would have kept track of like where one of them, what I wanted for and all that stuff. So that'd be a good idea for you guys that are starting out. A lot of people write their name on the back of the medals now and like the date and the competition. It's a great idea. Let's see. When will you be testing? I think this would be the same answer for both of us. I think both of us are planning on testing 2025 in Fort Worth, Texas. So hopefully I'm testing for 7th degree and he's going to be testing for
level 2 fifths.
Nice. And then what would you do to counter somebody that just the continuous spin kicks? How do you score on them? How do you counter them?
Well, I got to ask myself, are they showing me their back to try to draw a strike, or are they spinning to actually throw a technique? If they're spinning to actually throw a technique, I need to figure out how I'm going to defend that technique first and then figure out the offense after that. If they're throwing a technique, I can either 3 block, 5 block their move and then go in with my reverse punch, or the way that I prefer is just to sag back off their spin kick, wait for them to land long or land with a lot of weight on their back foot, and then I go in with my offensive technique.
Nice. Both of those work really good. You got to be careful on the one where you let it go kind of close to you. You got to make sure it's far enough away that the judge doesn't give them points for that head kick. Also, if you are the one spinning, throw some spin side kicks every now and then, because almost everybody assumes you're going to kick to the head when you spin. So if you can drop a couple of spin side kicks to the body instead of always throwing the spin heel kick or spin hook kick to the head, you'll score more points. Let's see. What do you do to go from being like casual observer, fan, judge to being able to compete at a high level?
That's a great question. I would say that I'm not the same person outside of competition and in competition. I think that I need some time before competition to settle my mind, not have any conversations with anybody. Either it may be listening to music or really just having my thoughts to myself to have my own reassurance on how well I'm going to do. And sometimes that's it.
Yeah. I'm sure like when I'm preparing, getting ready for form, getting ready for sparring, I didn't really do a lot of getting ready for form, but, so I wasn't really going to talk to anybody. So some of the competitors, man, thought I was rude. I'm not really sure. I don't talk to a lot of people anyway, but I definitely did talk to a lot of people right before competition. And then I didn't even watch their forms, to be honest. I never watched their form. That was a tip from Lily Bowen a long time ago. She talked to me. She mentioned that she didn't even watch the other people do their forms, because like reasoning for me was like if they make a mistake or something, then it makes me kind of think about that section of the form. And I don't want to go into my competition thinking about anything on the form. Like I know the form. I've been doing the form for a long time, so I don't want to have any second guesses on there. So you go from there. I do watch them spar though. Like for their sparring, I do want to watch that. I want to see which leg they like to put in front, what their favorite technique is that they throw a lot of, and kind of go from there. Now the techniques that I use really don't matter what leg they have in front of those. It's one of the benefits of throwing a lot of side kicks and straight line techniques. So side kicks, and axe kick. It doesn't really matter which leg they have in front. Now I will say the axe kick works better right leg versus right leg or same side. You can kind of go behind the shoulder versus to the open side. So I'll pay attention to which leg they have in front for that. But I'm not changing legs based on what my partner does. So so some people change legs based on what their partner does, and they kind of go second. They let the other person lead. That's fine. Some people are like to spar with both legs in front. I know I'm a right leg fighter. If you can beat me with a right leg fighter, then good job. But I'm not going to go left leg just because you're left leg.
What are some things outside of sparring technique specifically, some qualities of sparring that you need to have, tendencies that you need to have to spar at a high level?
Okay. So one of the things we talk about in class and we've done a couple of videos on is like your best technique, your favorite technique, and your best weapon. So you're like the best weapon. So your best weapon to me is not always a technique. It could be a technique. For you, it may be a technique. I know for me, it's not. My best weapon is my timing, number one. And then number two is technique selection. So I know if I do if I go at the right time and I choose the correct technique, I'm going to be more successful. For some people, it is just overall athleticism. For some people, it is their speed. Now, I'm semi-tall, but I'm not fast. I don't think I have the best reaction time. I definitely don't have the best speed. So I'm not going to beat anybody speed for speed. So like you got to kind of find out what works the best for you and go from there. And that may be difficult. It may be hard to find your strength. It may take a lot of losses to figure it out. Now some people get one or two losses and they quit competing because they didn't do good. You may not do great at the beginning. Like a lot of people don't do great at the beginning of their competition career, and then they kind of blossom later on. But you got to put in the work, you got to put in the time, and see what works for you, and then kind of watch what works for everybody else. I don't really copy anybody else, I don't think, but like what worked for them and kind of go from there. What do you think? What do you think is your best weapon?
My best weapon is my height, if I'm being honest. I think that I like to stay away just as long as possible. And I like to make you think that my legs are not as long as they are. And then I use some new flexibility that I've found. I try to reach as far out as I can whenever you think that you're not in my range.
Ooh, one small thing I would love to see come back. Now, no, obviously, we talked about we're not really in charge of the logistics of making the tournament run. I don't want to be part of that, man. I'm sure that's complicated. I think we had 2,500 people compete at the tournament. So I'm not sure how you make this happen, but I would love to see the finale come back for at least the high ranks, if not for everybody. Obviously, I don't think we can do it for everybody. I know that was one of the things they, wanted to get rid of the Sunday competition. I get that. A lot of our guys were probably happy that we didn't have to stay and compete on Sunday. You could just leave out on Sunday morning. But like, I would love to see the finale for maybe the fourth, fifth, and sixth degree men and the fourth, fifth, sixth degree women. That way to give some of those younger guys something to look forward to. Because, they're not all there when we compete. I know for you guys, for the fifth and sixth degree men, you guys were at 8 a.m. on Friday. So a lot of people weren't even there for their competitions. They were competing in the All-Star. They didn't see the brightest and the biggest stars that we have compete. So, but I wouldn't want to do the whole entire fifth and sixth degree competition last, because that'd be tough also, because everybody's going to be judging the whole entire event. But to go out there and do one round of your former sparring, I know as a competitor that did the finale a lot of times. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely the most memorable part of the tournament. So I would love to see that come back for Fort Worth. So if we get a vote on it, I'm voting finale.
I made the finale twice, back-to-back years, 2022 and 2023. Shout out Colby Donnell and Spencer Reed. I do want my rematch. I may get Spencer in the 5th degree ring, or I might have to wait till I'm a 6th degree to get my rematch with Colby. But I would love to have it in a finale setting because that finale was the spark for me.
Yeah.
For years at tournaments, I went and competed against the people in my ring, and I got medals, and that was great. And then they implemented the finale, and I was like, whoa, Mr. Deer got to do that in front of everybody? My buddy Eli Desper, he got to do that in front of everybody? So that was the itch that I wanted. I wanted to do that too. I got up there twice, and now I just got to get over that hump and get my win, and I'd love to have it happen in Fort Worth.
Because you won sparring this year, but it's not the same, right?
I did win sparring this year, got a gold medal in the A ring. It only took 4 rounds to get there. I wanted that 5th, 6th, 7th round. I wanted to show that I was the top sparrer in the 5th degree.
And for any of you guys that won in the 5th degree, man, if you guys would like to come down to Brandon for a match, just let us know. We'll work it out.
Today, I'm going to have Mr. Deer do a blind rank. He's going to rank these moves based off of how they work in tournament sparring only. He doesn't know the next move. I know the moves.
There's going to be 5 of these?
There's going to be 5.
Okay,
There's going to be 5.
Okay.
And we're going to see how his ranking ends up. First move, reverse punch.
Reverse punch, I would say I would rarely ever just run in a reverse punch, but obviously you can only score with the backhand, so it got to be a reverse. They work fantastic all the way up through all the levels after a great block. So we're going to assume it's after a good block. So I'm going to go 3. We'll go 3 with that. So number 3, difficult to pull it off by itself, but after a great block, it's very effective all the way up through the 6th degree range.
So right now we have reverse punch at 3. Next move, double round kick.
Ooh, double round kick. This is probably one of the most popular moves that I see in tournament sparring. Not one of my favorites at all. But I would go, based on popularity and how well it works, I would go number 2. And then if I was going to use this also, especially to score with it at a high level, I would go short on the first kick and then full extension on the second kick. And I would also work different levels and different distances. I want my partner to feel like they are at a safe distance by throwing a shallow round kick first and then doing a little extra slide and a little extra full extension on the second kick to score. I want them to feel like they're in the right spot and then extend. So 2. Long way to say 2.
Second spot is for double round kick. Next move. Tornado kick, 360 inside crescent kick, 360 round kick.
So tornado kick, I will right out of the gate. I don't think I've ever scored with one of these in tournament sparring. I don't know if I've ever attempted one of these in tournament sparring. I'm not a big spinner. It's not one of my weapons is spin kicks. I would say 5. It may work in the lower levels. It could, to pull it off at a high level, you better have it in the middle of a combo, probably somewhere, or do it at the perfect right time when they're going the right direction. So like you get them going away and to the side and you follow them that direction with it, then you make it pull it off. Now, would it be a crowd pleaser? Oh yeah. No doubt. The crowd would go wild if you scored with that, but a side kick to the body is going to get as many points as that 360 tornado kick to the body. But I would say 5. Hard to pull it off, but really cool if you do.
I think you ended up with tornado kick in a good spot. For me, the best moves for tournament sparring are the ones you can do fast. Yes, you can tornado kick fast, but at our level, the other person that you're sparring can use their front leg a lot faster than you can tornado kick. So we got tornado kick in the 5 spot. Next move, back leg, number 2, round kick.
Back leg, number 2, round kick. I know when we're teaching the students a lot, we teach it like don't even throw number 2s. But like really in the beginning, I really just wanted to get them not using it first. It's a really hard move to throw first. So I'm going to go put that right in the 4 spot. It is a really good move for if you're sparring somebody and you're a youth and adult and you can leg check and they land long and you have the correct side out. Then number 2 round kick to the leg works really good as a counter. And then, or if you get your partner moving backwards, they have the correct side of the body open for the number 2 round kick to the body or number 2 round kick to the head. When they either have too much weight on the front leg to kick or they've landed long, then it's a good technique. But it's not something I would start with. So I'll go 4.
We have number 2 round kick in the 4 spot. I think you're going to be happy with how we ended up with number 1. The last spot that you had was slide side kick for the 1 spot.
Ooh, that is a good one. So it has to be number 1 because that's the last spot we have available. So that worked out kind of good. But number 1 slide side kick is my favorite. Not my favorite. It's my best tournament sparring move. My favorite is an axe kick to the head. But slide side kick works. The best thing about slide side kick, I think, is works against right leg fighters or left leg fighters or the spin guys. So like the spin guys, I have to just scoot back, let the spin go past, then slide side kick. That's a good way to counter the spins, or just go first. But it doesn't matter which leg they have in front. So that's one of the selling points to me for the slide side kick. It's a really long technique. It's a powerful technique as well, especially if you hit with your heel.
So for our blind ranking, we have number 1, slide side kick. Number 2, double round kick. In the 3 spot, we have reverse punch. 4 spot, we have back leg round kick. 5 spot, we ended up with tornado kick.
I think it's it. Good time. And then I need to airdrop you this file.